Welcome back, Anatomy. Happy Friday. We have reached the end of another week of remote learning. We talked in our previous video about blood types, A, B, O, and also with the Rh positive or negative antigen. And hopefully you were able to watch that whole video as well as the 2 video resources that I posted below. To make sure you have a good understanding of the genetics of blood typing as well as the consequences of hemolytic disease of the newborn from Rh disease. And so we're going to actually kick off this video with a couple fact check questions that pertain to all of that blood typing material that we talked about in the previous video. So number 1 says that a person with O blood donates blood. What types of blood have no risk associated with receiving this type of blood? And what blood types have a low risk? So the answer would be that only O negative has no risk of getting the wrong type of blood here. But there is always a risk for the donor's antibodies in the recipient. However, all other blood types have a fairly low risk as well. Number 2 says, in addition to a universal donor type, there is also a universal receiver type. People with this type of blood can receive blood with low risk from any blood type. What is the universal receiver? So the universal recipient is AB, okay? It produces neither A nor B antibodies, so that is the universal recipient, okay? Number 3. To be a true universal recipient, should the person in the above question be Rh negative or Rh positive? They should be AB positive. If Rh positive, they do not produce the anti-Rh antibodies. Number 4, a person's blood type is A positive. What possible genotypes could the person have for the blood type? And what possible genotypes could the person have for the Rh antigen? So this is where that genetics and understanding Punnett squares, that review from the Amoeba Sisters video, comes in handy. So for the first part of the question, what possible genotypes could the person have for the blood type? They could be either AA or AO. And in terms of the possible genotypes for the Rh antigen, they could either be plus or plus minus. Remember, A is dominant, and Rh plus is dominant. So that goes into those alleles, possible allele combinations or genotype combinations. Okay, and so now we're going to continue with a small video. It'll be pretty short on blood circulation. So the human body is considered a closed circulatory system. And so blood, in this case, is enclosed in blood vessels. The opposite of this would be an open circulatory system, which some animals and creatures in God's creation do possess. And in that case, their blood is not closed in blood vessels, and instead it just leaks out into all of the tissues. And there are 3 major types of blood vessels that you guys have probably heard of before and are familiar with. That's the arteries, capillaries, and the veins. Arteries are blood vessels that carry blood away from the heart. Capillaries are microscopic, thin-walled blood vessels that allow the exchange of gases and nutrients between the blood and body cells. And veins are the large blood vessels that carry blood back to the heart. And so blood will flow from the heart through the arteries. I like to think of it as arteries beginning with an A equals away. So that's how I keep it straight. Arteries away, blood away from the heart. Veins do the opposite, and they bring it back to the heart. And so as blood travels, the arteries branch, and they continue to branch, creating more and more, but they get smaller and smaller. And eventually, as they get so small, they become the capillaries, and they reach these capillaries, which are so thin that the erythrocytes, which we talked about in depth in previous videos, which you know are super microscopic, have to pass in a single file line. So think about just how small those capillaries are, that we need a strong microscope just to view a blood cell, and these capillaries are so small that they have to pass through single file through these capillaries. So this is super microscopic, but it's not unintentional by any means, because the thin walls of the capillaries and their small size allows for the exchanges of gases like oxygen and carbon dioxide between blood and the tissues. Okay? And so after passing through the capillaries, the blood returns to the heart by traveling through the veins. As we said, arteries away from the heart, veins bring back to the heart. And they are small and numerous near the capillaries, and they form larger and larger vessels. So as they begin working through your body to come back to the heart, they start to get larger and larger and fewer. And so by the time you get to the heart, you have only a few select large veins. They are not highly small branched like the capillaries are away from your heart. Okay? And, you have probably heard in some science class before that you have two circuits as part of your closed circulatory system. You have the pulmonary circulation and you have the systemic circulation. So let's define exactly what those two things are and how they differ. So the pulmonary circulation is going to be all the circulation of the blood around the alveoli or the air sacs of your lungs. So pulmonary, you guys know that the root word pulm has to do with lungs, so that's how I always remember it, but this is going to be the blood circulation between the heart and the lungs, and systemic circulation. And then systemic circulation is going to be the circulation of the blood to the other tissues of the body. So pulmonary has to do with the lungs, systemic has to do with the rest of your system or your body. Okay, and so this is the image from your book showing you how exactly this works. You have your systemic circulation down here. This is what's going to the rest of your body. You have your heart, and so you've got some that's going to one lung and some that's going to the other lung from either side of the heart. And when we study the heart anatomy next week, as we dive into that, you will see the different areas of the heart if you're not already familiar with them, and you will see that indeed a set of vessels goes to the left lung and a set of vessels goes to the right lung. All right, so focusing just more a little briefly on pulmonary circulation. Pulmonary circulation, again, sends blood from the right of the heart to the lungs and back to the left of the heart. And it allows for blood to exchange gases with these tissues in the lungs and allows for you to pick up the oxygen that we breathe in and to release the carbon dioxide that is the waste product of our metabolism out in our breath. And so back to, the basic concept of always breathing in oxygen and exhaling carbon dioxide. Your systemic circulation isn't involved in the release of the oxygen and the carbon dioxide out of your breath or through your lungs. Instead, it sends blood from the left to the heart to the tissues throughout your body and all the organs, and it allows blood to deliver oxygen that you just breathed in and pick up that carbon dioxide waste that you want to bring out. And ultimately, your heart functions as the pump to control both of these circuits, and it will pump through your circulatory system. Okay, and so I just have yet another corny joke to leave you here with. It says, "We got you something." I love it. I'm going to share it with everyone, and it's obviously an oxygen molecule. And so that's where we're ending for this week. Like I said, a short video. Next week, you can look forward to tackling this image right here, in which we are going to be studying the external and internal anatomy of the heart. All right, and so you have no homework for me at this point. Just enjoy your weekend and come back here on Monday to start fresh. Bye.